everyone. How is everyone doing today? If you are doing well, drop some love in the chat. I wanted to welcome everyone to Journey into Tech series. We are thrilled to have you all with us today. My name is Adria Evans, and I'm the Business Operations Manager at Mentor Me Collective, and I'll be your host for this evening's session. For those who are joining us for the first time, Mentor Me Collective is a community-based nonprofit organization committed to supporting first-generation technologists in the tech industry. Our mission is to empower first-generation technologists with skills, knowledge, and confidence to pursue their passions, achieve their dreams, and positively impact society. We do that through our tech education programs, mentorship initiatives, and events like these. If you'd like to learn more, please visit our website and fill out the contact form. Now, before we kick off today's session, I have a few announcements. One, make sure to follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay informed about future events and content. Also, this year, we've begun having in-person events in New York City. You can take it a step further and subscribe to our Google Events calendar. We have a Google Events calendar now, y'all, so you can plan to attend beforehand. All the events we're hosting are on there, and if you're in the surrounding area, we would love for you to come by. We welcome you to join us. We encourage you all to join our Slack community, where you can connect with fellow attendees, share resources, and access exclusive content. But today, we are incredibly honored to welcome Michael Boone, trustworthy AI product manager at NVIDIA. Michael has an impressive career specializing in building and managing AI products that are ethical, secure, and transparent. His work ensures that AI technologies are developed and deployed in a way that prioritizes trust and fairness, which is crucial as AI continues to play an increasing role in our daily lives. Michael will be sharing his journey into tech, insights on what it takes to excel in AI product management, and how to build a career focused on ethical AI practices. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Michael.
Hi there. Thank you so much for the generous introduction, Adria. Wonderful to be here and with the Mentor Me collective community. Again, I'm Michael Boone. I am NVIDIA's trustworthy AI product manager, and it is my joy to be able to join y'all today and share a little bit about what I do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides, and we'll kick it off from there. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Adria, are you able to see my slides?
Let's see. Is it the ones that you have up here?
It should say journey. It should be now and next in NVIDIA's perspective. Perfect. There it is. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Again, my name is Michael Boone. Happy to be here with you and to share a little bit around who I am, where I came from, and how you might be able to learn a couple of tidbits from my journey into tech. So the first question that most people ask me is, what do you do? I am a product manager. My job is to help make sure that NVIDIA is building products that are in line with our trustworthy AI principles, and then to help build products that help us, our customers, and the greater ecosystem build trustworthy AI according to our principles. Our principles are built around bias and non-discrimination, privacy, safety and security, explainability, and transparency. And what I do as a product manager really kind of boils down to two things. I run our Model Card Plus Plus program, which you can see a link to that in the slide that I'm showing, and I'll make sure that you guys get these slides as well. Secondly, I build products that help us to build trustworthy AI, that help our teams, that help the teams of our customers and the ecosystem at large. Some of our products are going to be launching this fall, and I look forward to being able to share more around what those are. But previous to this, and I'll kind of take a step back and share a little bit about my career, particularly at NVIDIA. I've been here for 4 years, and before I came to this role, I was a product marketing manager for a global core computer vision group. And in between that role and the role I currently have now, I was a product manager for core computer vision. And really, as a product manager, your job is to own something to help make sure that you understand the needs of the customer, and that you're able to prioritize the right features, the right bugs that need to be fixed. And then previous to that, in product marketing management, my job was to position our products, to be able to learn what our products do, figure out how they can sync better together, and to tell a complete narrative around what we are offering as a company. Again, there's some examples of some of the work that I've done here that's linked, that you'll be able to get access to as well. And then I'm a proud member of our Black NVIDIA network. I am our learning and development chair, and have been in that slot for about a year and some change. So let's just talk about my career journey. So you can see here, my career has been pretty short, but I graduated from the University of Virginia. I'm a DMV native, and I received my bachelor's in 2013 for civil engineering. I had an internship, or actually a slew of internships at the Virginia Department of Transportation. I started out in the public sector, working in environmental permits and wetlands development, and started to build some expertise in toll road system development. Right after coming out of undergrad, I did a year at Wake Forest University, completed my master's in management, and came back to VDOT. They held my job for me, and I started out as a full-time engineer in their, what I think is called their EDGE program now, but was previously known as their core development program. And that's how I got my start. I loved cars. I still love cars, and that's really why you see the car there in the background. I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to work with cars. And so that's kind of where things started. Following my time at VDOT, I moved over to an architecture engineering firm called H&TB. I worked there for about 4.5 years as a deputy project manager for installing toll roads, literally being able to build roads that we charge people to ride on, which you're probably very familiar with if you're on the East Coast and even some parts of the West Coast. In between there, as I was thinking about what my next steps for my career would be, I participated in a hackathon at a community college. There was an opportunity to participate in a hackathon on a Friday, Saturday in 2018, and I decided that, hey, I would take the opportunity to try to learn something new, to try to experiment with something, and I finished second place, which was such a surprise to me. I kind of did this on a whim and thought it would be something that would help me to learn and help me to engage a little bit more with where I wanted to be. And so I got some permission from my team, and that's where I went. I've been with NVIDIA since 2020, since I guess somewhat into the pandemic, and here we are in 2024, and I just shared some of my career trajectory since then. But that's me. That's where I came from, and that's my professional training. One thing I will note that is not on here is I am a licensed civil engineer. In 2018, I sat for my professional engineering license and passed. And so I was licensed in Virginia, Maryland, DC, and West Virginia. And that's, again, how I built some of my technical grounding. So let's talk about what it's like to work at NVIDIA. I'd love to tell you about what life is like here. One, it's really, really challenging technical work. I'm working with product teams. I'm working with engineering teams. I'm working with our large language models teams, our computer vision teams. I built an expertise in computer vision, and that was really where I got my technical grounding. And I think that's where I'm able to add now as a product manager at NVIDIA, having built a technical kind of grounding and expertise in computer vision. Even if you think about toll road system development, we're taking a picture of a car, and we are using an algorithm to charge the vehicle, whether it's based on mileage or based upon time of day or based upon just the flat rates that are charged. And then we're earning revenue. So it's a revenue-based computer vision system. And that's how I really positioned myself to get into NVIDIA and moved over into the product marketing management team for autonomous vehicles and computer vision. Secondly, NVIDIA is it's tech. So we're very fast paced. We've got a high ownership environment. And I think that is something that I love about the culture here. We're very different from some tech companies in that there's a lot of hierarchy, a lot of structure in terms of who can do this and who can do that, but that's not the case at NVIDIA, and I've been grateful for that. And then finally, there is, a breadth of individuals from a variety of industries. You've got people that have worked in, digital design. You've got people that worked in marketing from all types of places, and you've got people that, we even have people that are doctors, people that have been in the healthcare field as practitioners, and are able to really help shape the future of health and the future of drug discovery and the like. So that's what it's like to work at NVIDIA. If I were able to sum it up in kind of a few bullet points myself, it's a great place to be, like a lot of tech companies. But there's, like I said, there's a little bit of a difference between us and some of the other folks that we work with and partner with, and this is what it's like. Yeah, so a lot of people also ask me, what is it like to work in a hybrid environment? I am a hybrid employee, even though I'm based out of our Santa Clara office. I worked for 2 years in the Washington, D.C. area because of COVID. I think many of you, particularly those of you that have exited or are in school right now, probably have a strong understanding of what it feels like to work in a virtual world. I'm a huge proponent of hybrid environments, and NVIDIA is supportive of that as well. We don't require anyone to come into the office, but I think we try to make it as fun as possible to be in the office. And of course, there's nothing that replaces face-to-face communication and can get things done quickly, so that you can move on about your way and collaborate. It's doable. You can manage your pace, you can be prepared, you can be thoughtful about what you're doing. Secondly, you're paced, you moderate the tempo. You have the ability to plan your day, to be flexible, to be considerate around activities that you might have outside of work, and be able to bring your whole person to work. And then finally, comfortable. You can dress how you feel. Today I've got a collared shirt because I am away from my usual place of duty, but people wear chacos, people wear all sorts, traditional religious attire. People wear all sorts of stuff to come to work, and you're respected based upon the quality of your work, not necessarily how you dress, which can be a little bit of a difference for people like me that used to be in consulting. So let's talk about the future. A lot of folks shared with you a little bit about deliverables. I shared with you a little bit about the stakeholders. The product manager is really a good middleman, or a good middlewoman, as I would call it. You have the opportunity to be able to interface with public relations and marketing. You have the opportunity to interface with engineers and the like. You really are the person that is gluing a lot of a product or a lot of initiatives together. And I think this future is supportive of that. It's a highly collaborative environment. We're seeing people with UX experience being in the same conversations with engineers. We're seeing PR people and folks in marketing being in conversations with engineers. You're seeing people that usually or have not traditionally collaborated as directly in the past together are being able to do so. Secondly, the future is multi and highly dimensional. Coming from a traditional civil engineering environment and kind of thinking through my career, I think it's radically important for you to be thinking about things from a holistic perspective. We're taking into account more user feedback than we ever have. We are being more thoughtful around how do we actually make changes so that there's less of an adjustment for adoption when we have updates for products. How do we think about things in ways that our competitors or co-opetition is not thinking about? And then finally, it's opportunity rich. We are in a space where there's a lot of opportunity to contribute, and the most important thing you can do is be able to tell your story and to be able to connect the value that you bring. Don't let other people define that for you, frame it for you, because if you do, someone will get you to build up on their dream versus you building your own. And so just encourage you to be really thoughtful about that as you're thinking about, hey, I'm interested in tech, to have a specific technical domain that you can contribute to be able to tell your story really well, and then to be able to foresee the value that you can create or give to an organization or to an ecosystem. I think oftentimes when people are thinking about getting into tech and particularly product management, they are thinking about what they can contribute now, but not necessarily connecting the dots very well. And so I'll talk to you a little bit about what I think makes for a good product manager and what makes for a good contributor within the tech space in general, including interview tips. So speaking of interview tips and what you should be working on is one, becoming an expert. You want to be someone that people go to. In a lot of my roles that I've been working in, both here at NVIDIA and in previous ones, people oftentimes call me the librarian because they know I can organize things and figure out where things are at. I can pull the right book off the shelf that's applicable at the right time. And I think that's really, really important. People know you for something. Even if it's not the something you want to be known for now, it's something that you are known for now and that you can do well. And you can expand your scope of work and your expertise. So I encourage you to become an expert in something. Even if, whether it's you taking time to read the latest news on a specific subject and self-educate, or whether you're thinking about going back to school or getting a certificate or the like, you've got to be known for something. And oftentimes when you ask people, hey, I want to go work at X company, they can't tell you what their expertise is in a single sentence, and I think that's really important. Secondly, be an explainer. Part of understanding or having some scope of knowledge is being able to explain it to other people well. What is something that you can learn and then be able to translate to others? How can you expand the knowledge set and the scope that someone else might know about? So I encourage you to be an explainer. Thirdly, a prioritizer. This is incredibly important for a product manager. Product managers' jobs are to understand what is needed and then to figure out how to get it done with the limited resources. You never have the right amount of people. Oftentimes, you don't even have staff to get the work done. You've got to do your work through influencing and really what we call building the train or building the plane as you fly. Being able to understand where someone else is at, being able to understand where you want to get to, and then being able to intersect and being able to figure out, okay, what's the most bang for my buck? Where do I get the most value? Where does it make the most sense? Where can I save the most money to get the minimum viable product or even more out the door? And then finally, a thinker. I think that's really what a product manager's value is. A product manager's value isn't organizing; it's in relationship building. It's an influencing. But really, the differentiation value, in my opinion, is a product manager is a thinker. There's someone who's able to take a lot of knowledge, a lot of things from disparate, maybe say sources, and be able to aggregate or to put them together in a logical whole. So I encourage you to be thoughtful around that. Encourage you to be to think about being an expert, being an explainer, being a prioritizer, and being a thinker. These are the things that you need to be able to share, to demonstrate, and to exhibit when you are up for consideration for being a product manager. And if you want to go down this route. Kind of taking a step back some, I know Mentor Me Collective has had huge success with getting people into technology and getting people into really, really interesting and meaningful spaces where they can contribute. Some just basic things that I think are really helpful to think about as you are on your career path is really to think about organization. Think about how do I organize my thoughts? How do I organize others' thoughts? Taking notes is huge. I know that's not a glorious thing to do in a lot of cases, but it's something that I regularly do. Of course, get your co-pilot assist or whatever to help you out, but really, particularly for some of the more technical details, you want to be really thoughtful and methodical around this, and this helps you learn, it helps you educate others, and it helps demonstrate some level of expertise. Organization is key, and I think particularly at the pace at which technology moves, it's pivotal that you are able to absorb what is needed, what's important, what's what needs to be prioritized at the moment, and then kind of to move in a different pattern as a result of that. Secondly, I think it's really important that you think about being really thinking about upping your actual project management skills. The difference I would say between product management and project management is product management, you're owning something. Project is typically you're helping to execute some initiatives or some tasks that may help contribute to a product. So there's a couple of different takes on this, but I encourage you to think about exposing yourself to some of these tools if you're able to. Slack is very popular in the tech space in terms of just organizing thoughts. You've got other tools like Jira and Aha. There's a lot of free ones that are out there, and I'd encourage you to play around with them, see how you can use them. But most importantly, at the end of the day, use something, have a system that you can demonstrate that shows that you can be organized. Also, one of the free ones that I love is OneNote. OneNote is something that I can't live without, and actually something that an intern taught me when I was working at my last job. So finally, Grace. This is a picture of our Grace Hopper chip, and I thought it was just appropriate. You're going to make mistakes, you are going to get things wrong, and that's okay. It's important to be in an environment where you can be forgiving, where you can be where you can own up to when you make mistakes, and you are able to learn from them. So I encourage you to think about OPG, or organization, project management, and grace when you're thinking about technology and what it means to journey into that space. Let's talk about what it takes to stand out as an applicant or as a prospective candidate. Two things that I emphasize quite a bit to students that I've talked to and folks that I've mentored is, one, put in the work, and two, dare to be different. It takes work to get into tech, and I think it takes work to be able to stay in tech. Secondly, I think it's very, very important for you to be for you to have a strong sense of what's your differentiator. What is that thing that I do that's different from everybody else? When it comes to putting in the work, technically excellent. To go from one domain to another, you need to demonstrate that you have mastered something. And oftentimes, tech is the confluence or the intersection of quite a few things. And so it's important for you to be able to be an expert in something, to be able to bring something to the table, to be able to have something to say that I can build upon. Secondly, build relationships. You never know where people are going to pop up again and where you'll see them again, but it's important for you to be thoughtful around the company that you keep. And I think so much of the success of people that are minorities within high tension spaces like engineering, tech, and the like, is they don't have a healthy kind of ecosystem around them that can be supportive of their development, of their goals, and to be honest with them when they need some encouragement, and also when they are not doing as well as they should be. Finally, with them put in the work, come with value. You've heard me talk a lot about this in my time with you today. I encourage you to be really thoughtful around how can I build myself up and understand what I bring to the table, not what I want to bring to the table, but what can I add right now. And I think this comes off most transparently when people put together the resumes and they've got their bullets. What can you demonstrate? The world is becoming a very competitive place, and I'd encourage you to think about that quite a bit. Next part of Dare to be Different, own your story. Again, I share this quite a bit. You want to be able to own your narrative. You want to be able to think, where am I at today? Where will I be at in the future? How do I get there? And oftentimes you see, it's good to study and to see what other people have done, but you've got to drive your own path. You have to own your own story. And so I encourage you to drive that and to take some time to really think about, where am I at now? Where do I want to be at? Who has done something similar before? I've got some tools that I'll share later that I think would probably be helpful for you. But I'd encourage you to really take the bite and to really invest in yourself. If you don't invest in yourself, nobody else is going to believe that they want to. Secondly, to show your personality, I encourage you to be yourself. You see this guy smiling here, that's in the photo. Why be a C? Why be the same in a sea of sames when you were born to stand out? And so I just encourage you to think about who am I created to be? Who am I gifted to be, and to be that person and not be a copy or duplicate of somebody else. And then finally, tailor your resume. This is a big one. My mom used to be an employment readiness coach where she used to help people get jobs. And I encourage people all day, every day. One resume is for one job description, no more. Make sure that you can have a general resume, but when it comes to applying for a job, you want to make sure that you have a resume that's tailored to the job description. I don't look at resumes and just give people feedback. I don't spend a lot of time doing that. When someone comes to me, generally I say, where's a job description? Where's the resume? Have you taken the time? Have you taken the time to tailor it? Particularly in the age of ChatGPT and having been a hiring manager for a couple opportunities, you'd be amazed at how quickly you could dwindle down from 500 resumes to 5 because people don't take the time and the value to make that happen. Let's go to the next slide here. So fun virtual stories. I thought this would kind of be a great way to kind of kick off some of the questions and give you some perspective and to let you know that I am human as well. First one was at NVIDIA, to Polo or not to Polo at left. I came from the consulting world, and this should teach you that context matters. My first week at NVIDIA, my manager threw me into a meeting with a customer, an automotive OEM, and she said, yeah, go ahead and set up the meeting. You can go start talking through it. And I was like, okay, what do you want me to, I'm thinking to myself, like, I know the content, but a day or two before I was like, so what do I wear? Collar, no collar, polo, no polo. And she's like, I don't care. Just get the work done. Oftentimes substance, is way greater than style. And so I just encourage you to think about the substance, again, the value that you bring, and to walk in that space and to recognize what the actual value is that you carry, and to let that be the driver of your career. Secondly here, Slack is a great tool. Instant message is a great tool. Texting is a great tool, but it oftentimes is not a complete tool in terms of how you communicate tone and how you communicate what needs to be done. So I encourage you to be really thoughtful, to go the extra mile, and to really not only be sensitive around what you put in a Slack channel or a text message, but particularly at work, but encourage you to be really thoughtful around the way you interpret it. So my manager, the same manager that I spoke of earlier, she and I had a conversation. I said, oh, this is kind of weird. Something we were responding to some product that was being demoed. And she said the same thing too. I thought we meant the same thing as like, oh, I just really thought the product was kind of off and not something I would use. And she was like, yeah, I just was thinking about the color scheme. So think about what you've got in terms of what you're communicating, and to be really hone into what you are communicating to make sure that you're communicating what you want to communicate and that you are actually understanding people the way they are communicating as well. There's a great link here. If you are towards the beginning of your career, I've got a link here where I hosted an early career board panel with some folks from NVIDIA, and tell some really cool and candid stories from some members of the Black NVIDIA network. Thirdly, the one where this is not the office, final kind of small story here. Working in tech, this is my first time where I didn't have a time card. You get the work done or you don't get the work done, but there's not really kind of an in between. And so some weeks, most weeks, at least for me, I'm typically working close to 50 hours, if not a little bit more. But even still, whether I do 40, 45, 48, 60 hours a week, whatever I choose, it's not measured by how much effort I put in, it's measured by the output and around the impact of that output. And so I asked my manager, at the end of my first week, I was writing down all the things that I was doing and saying, I just spent 2 hours here and 3 hours here and yada, yada, yada. And, it was payday week. So I asked my manager, I said, hey, where do I put my time in? She's like, this is not the office. Get your work done, explain the impact, and you'll be all good. And so I want to encourage you to think about the context there as well. Less about, one of the things I like about tech, at least working at NVIDIA, is less about style and more about a technical substance and being able to stand on that. And I think that is a huge equalizer, I think, in a lot of ways for environments where folks have, like you and me, maybe have not traditionally excelled well, because it's built upon merit, or more built upon merit. Yes, there are politics anywhere, but it's built more upon merit than anything else. So I think that's key when you are trying to excel and to advance within the workspace. So if all else fails, there's a couple of tools. I'm an educator at heart. There's a couple of tools that I've got that are available on my LinkedIn bio that I'm sure has been provided and will be provided after this session for you to check out. I'm all about being able to evangelize and to transfer some of the knowledge that I've gotten. I've got tools. I've got tools for you to kind of plot your career. I've got a podcast that you can listen to that gives you some tips and tricks around what it looked like for me and how to find a sponsor, mentor, all that stuff. And then I have some basic stuff here, as you can see, around ABCs. A to Z, what does it mean to be successful in the workplace? What are some ways that you can add value and be a fountain and not just a drain? And so I just want to encourage you to think about these things. It's linked here. Like I said, my contact information is also linked, and I encourage you to take a look at those resources that I have. I don't do a ton of kind of one-on-one mentoring these days, but I do group sessions, and I typically kind of coagulate around some of the common questions that people have around career and the like. But there's a lot of really great resources that are on my LinkedIn page that I've curated that I think will really help you not just be a good product manager, but be just a better contributor to the workforce. So with that, I'm going to pause and see if there are questions. I know we ended a little bit early here, but happy to take some questions and to field some comments based upon what I shared. I think just looking back at you may have seen I was looking back at a couple of my questions here to make sure I hit all the points that I wanted to. I think the only thing I did not hit upon, and I'll just say real quickly, product managers typically don't have a portfolio. Your portfolio is your work. So the links that I shared with you earlier, your body of work, what you are publishing, what you've promoted, what you're doing in the professional space, and you have linked, that is your portfolio. I don't have a formal portfolio. Maybe it's like a UX designer, UI person, but yeah, that's your portfolio, your body of work, and that I think stands for a lot of professionals. So Adria, I'll hand it over to you to see if we have any questions or any comments based upon what I share.
Thank you, Michael. That was amazing. And I'm sure, I'm inspired right now. So I'm sure that everyone here is impressed by your journey and inspired. So we are going to kick into Q&A. I have a couple questions. I'm going to start off with a couple questions first. Cool. And then if you all have any questions, you can add them to the chat. And I already see a few, so we will address those. Okay, so my first question for you, Michael, how important is it to have a technical background in AI for a product management role in this space?
I think you can learn some things on the fly, but I think it's really important for you to come with a domain of expertise. For me, it happened to be computer vision, and it really was how I positioned it. One of the things that I encourage people to think about is sometimes you don't go directly. I think it's hard to go directly into product management particularly for a big tech company. But I think there are some ways you can build your way or get your way in there. Marketing is a great way to do it. Sometimes you have to take half steps. For me, I always wanted to work for an automotive manufacturer, and I'm getting that itch scratched at NVIDIA. But before I actually got to NVIDIA, I thought, how can I get over more towards the private sector coming from the public sector? And I knew that a consultant would bring me a little bit more into the commercial space. And then at NVIDIA, being able to develop autonomous vehicle software has been, particularly the requirements and the definitions. It's taking a domain that I had in tolling and then just moving it over to a different space. So I think it's important to come with something. It's hard to be a product manager for something and you don't have any background kind of adjacent or beside it. And I think oftentimes that's what's missing from a lot of folks positioning, at least at a minimum, even if they do have the skill set, is they don't really have a strong understanding of what do they bring. Why does this matter? The knowledge that I have and the work that I've done to add to this space. And I think that's the hard part. And so if you can do hackathons, you can do certificates, those are great too. You can do some volunteer work for an organization and being able to use that tractionable expertise and to bridge that over. I think that all works well, but you've got to have something, right? Like, I'm not going to hire a product manager to do something that they have no expertise or no kind of like consider it. no consideration that would make them a good fit. Because really, at the end of the day, the product manager is responsible for the product and making sure they understand and know it. They're kind of like researchers to some extent, because you're like looking at competition and you're looking at what you're offering and trying to figure out what is that sweet spot of what we need to deliver, so that somebody can actually have something useful.
Nice. Okay. I have one more, and I'm going to
Yeah,
turn
sure.
to the chat. I'm going to piggyback off of the last question. So, can you list out the most valuable skills for a trustworthy AI product manager? And how can
Okay.
aspiring professionals develop these skills?
Okay. Most important skills. I think biggest piece is organization. I've seen a lot of product managers, and the organization piece drives me crazy. Like, if you want to be successful in this space, you got to be organized. If you're not organized in your personal life, you're not organizing. You're not the project manager of the friend group. That should tell you probably want to find some ways to help demonstrate that and to be really thoughtful around it. There's so much information coming at you from so many different people. You're going to be overwhelmed if you're not organized, or you're going to be just behind it. You're going to be a bad product manager. Apart from organization, I think the other piece, the project management organization piece kind of goes together. I hint about it with Grace, and I think I told you about building relations. I shared a little bit about building relationships and why that's important. Product managers got to be people. Not meaning that that all you do is kiss babies and tell people that their stuff's great, but you got to be really someone that can read the room. Because oftentimes when you are in a decision-making space and you're not getting the right stakeholder support, or somebody is not giving you the right resources, you've got to be able to read, this is what someone is saying and this is what someone's doing, and being able to kind of reconcile the two between each other. It's not just a pure technical game. Sometimes a lot of product managers come from a software engineering background, where they're a software engineer, they were kind of a pseudo engineering manager, and then they become the product manager. And that works well technically, but oftentimes what stops their projects from being, or their products from being successful, is they don't have the right people skills to be able to make peace and to be able to make compromise where it matters and where it counts. And so I think the relationship piece is pivotal, and I would not hire someone that does not do well with people, because at the end of the day, you're building stuff for people and you're working with people, and this isn't just write the code and compile it and we measure your success that way. It's something being delivered, and oftentimes if you're delivering something, it's dependent upon somebody else. Finally, the prioritization piece. You got to figure out what is important for me to do today, what can be a problem tomorrow, and can I let this kind of slip to figure out and focus energy on something that's really important. For instance, I generally look at my week ahead and I kind of plan for, here's what I'm going to do, here's where I'm going to be, who's where I'm going to be with, and all that good stuff. But what will stop you in your tracks is if something comes up, an emergency request, and you don't know how to move something down a rung on the ladder and prioritize something else. And I think life never goes according to plan. So if you're able to make amends that way, I think it's critical. But those are the top three things I think would be critical for product manager. And then I think the one thing I'd add about trustworthy AI, because it's such a new space, most of AI is really computer vision, replicating what our eyes can do, or replicating speech, replicating what our lips and how we process language. And really, like, we're almost like building different parts of like a digital human per se, right? And so what helped me coming into this position particularly was I knew the people that I was working with. I'd already become the computer vision guy. That's what people knew me for. And then, so there was already some built trust there, but I also had a technical domain expertise. I didn't just be like, oh, I'm going to become the trustworthy AI guy because I like making things fair and ethical. Like, that helps, but you have to be able to, at the end of the day, when these folks are releasing and they're asking tough questions around license and around why is this not appropriate for me to say, or why is this the right way to say something, why do I need to be transparent about the data set that we're using, you have to be able to understand how this stuff is built. And if you don't have a strong foundation in one domain, it's kind of like languages, right? Like, if I speak Spanish, it's a little bit easier to speak Italian and Portuguese. But if I don't speak any Romance languages and I'm trying to go from like German to Spanish, like, ooh, that's a steep jump. because there's not a lot of things that can translate. So those would be the things that I think about. Somebody else that might be an NLP, a natural language processing person, or text to speech, or knows some other form of AI, will likely be able to translate into AI in a different area, and in this case, into multiple domains or even multimodal spaces where you've got multiple modes, right? Computer vision and language and something else.
Excellent. I would piggyback off of that, but I'm going to turn. I can talk about this all day, so I'm going to turn it over to the. We'll talk on the side. We'll sidebar. I'm going to turn over to the chat, and so we have a question here. Let's see. Can you speak to how you manage the weight of ownership of the products you work on? What makes you confident about your decisions when you are shipping something?
Oh, great! I love this. Great question. Okay? So managing the ownership of the product. I've got right now 3 under my belt, 3 products that I manage. And when it comes to ownership, like, I'm making the decision. At the end of the day, the product manager needs to have the authority to make the decision. When you think about the ownership, it's typically coming from the support of your stakeholders and your manager. That's, at the end of the day, like, if those 2 conditions are not right, it's going to be very hard for you to drive as a product manager. When you think about, like, what makes me confident about the decisions that I'm ready to ship, I have a clear understanding of what the requirements are, and I have a clear understanding of what the customer is expecting. Expectations. If I have scoped the definition correctly and I've met the requirements to demonstrate that, and I've gotten enough constituent or stakeholder support, I'm confident of what I'm doing. That means you need to be writing things out. That's the biggest issue, I think, within product management. People don't write things out. They're like, this is what we're building, but it's all verbal and nothing's written down. And then, it's kind of like matching requirements. Like, I said I wanted to build X, Y, and Z. Here's X, Y, and Z demonstrated. We're ready to ship. That's what we promised the customer. That's what we promised would be useful. And being able to stand in the middle of a meeting and say, no, this is not what we talked about scoping. This is not what we're building. Like, that's important. It might make some people upset because they haven't been paying attention, haven't been looking at the notes, but that's why it's important to take notes and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we agreed to. This is what you signed off on. If you want to talk about other features later, great, fine, add them to the roadmap. Let's figure out how they fit with the rest of the stuff. But the buck stops with you, I think, as a product manager, and being organized and having notes to kind of back up. Here's the narrative. Here's where we're at is important.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, so we're going to move on. Hi, Michael. I would like to know how you handle motivations that kept you going during your learning period. Very good question.
Yeah, great question. You always want to have hope. I think hope oftentimes is what sometimes drives you. When I started working in my first job, and even some of my previous jobs, I never thought that they were dream jobs. I mean, the job that I have now is probably the best job I've ever had, and I couldn't have written the job description better. And I think one of the things that you have to think about is, like, where do I want to contribute? Like, and having a strong sense of, like, self, having a strong sense of who you are, what you're gifted in, how do you operate within that core. A lot of people want to operate outside of their core, outside of their gifting, and yeah, like, you're going to disappoint other people, and you might even you'll probably disappoint yourself. For me, I'm a Christian, so a lot of what I kind of think about is, like, what did God ask of me, and where did he ask me to do? What are the opportunities that are opening up as a result of how he created me? And I think that was huge. No, I looked for my current job in NVIDIA, or before getting to NVIDIA, I looked for a job for 2 years. If you can imagine going to interviews, getting somewhere down the pipeline and things not working out and all sorts of things. Like, this wasn't just something that I just popped up and was like, hey, NVIDIA's knocking at your door. No, I had a lot of disappointment. I had a good ecosystem of people around me that encouraged me and pushed me to do more and to apply. And I believed that it would work out at some point. And one of the things that I did was I came to Silicon Valley on my own dime to go to a conference. I wanted, at some point, my mentor was like, dude, you save a little money on the side, save $1,000, fly yourself out there and go to a conference and really try to make some connections. Figure out if this is really what you want. Figure out if you can really interact with some of the people that are there. And so I'd encourage you to do that. You are the first person and the best person to invest in. So yeah, that's how I handle some of my motivations. Good people around you is key. And oftentimes those people are not always people in your professional space, but they're people in your personal space that are helping you to build up. But good question.
Awesome. All right, moving along. Hi, Michael. Your presentation was amazing. My question is, how do you balance the needs of different teams like engineering, marketing, and sales?
Okay. All right. Cheat code. If engineering doesn't build anything, you have nothing to ship. So you want to be really thoughtful, particularly around your relationship with engineers. I had some developers and project managers that came and work for me over the summer. And right, they were building what I needed them to build. Like marketing is not going to do it, sales ain't going to do it. And so first thing to do is get your ducks in a row with engineering, figure out what their bandwidth is, what their tastes are, what their feelings are. I mean, that matters. Sometimes you want to tell them, hey, I want this to get done. They're like, but actually, this is the way I think it should be done. And this is why it will take this long and yada, yada, yada. But having a good relationship with engineers is really, really important. Marketing and sales, not to say that marketing sales do not matter, because I came from the marketing world. I was a product marketing manager. I did a little bit of marketing in my last role. Once you figure out what you're building and what you can build, you want to be truthful about that. And you want to keep everyone engaged throughout the process. A lot of times people build something, then they're trying to explain to marketing what they built, which takes and wastes time. And then they're trying to get to sales and be like, hey, I got this great thing. Really, when you think about it, at the end of the day, you're defining something that is going to sell. Like you want to make money. You want to be able to deliver something that adds value. So you got to engage your sales folks often. You want to keep your research warm and being able to understand what's best in the marketplace. And then as you're building something, engage marketing. Who knows? A lot of times these folks have ideas. There's not like technical and non-technical. You are a team, and it's important to invite people into the conversation and say, you've got ideas, I've got ideas. I don't know everything. Let's help make something great. And oftentimes you just got to figure out how do you plug in the insights. But I do want to be real, right? Like engineering is going to build most of the time what you need. Like it doesn't matter how much shiny slick decks you got. If you don't have anything to ship, like, yeah, it just doesn't matter. But make sure that you're involving sales and marketing and engineering, and that you all are one team. You're not separate teams working on separate goals. You are one team working on one goal together.
Okay, and I think this is our last question. I want to know, how can I showcase product management skills on my resume if I don't have experience working as one? I do have adjacent experience as a software engineer.
Yeah, great question. Kind of think about those same kind of organization, project management, leadership skills. If you are in an adjacent field, there's nothing that prevents you from volunteering and stepping up, right? Like, what would it take for you to check with your engineering manager and say, hey, I'm building on this. Can I have, an hour or two of my time a week to go talk or to follow or listen in on a product meeting or to listen in on so-and-so's meeting? Come up with an ideas board. As you're thinking about what you're building. A lot of great products you can secure in the market with intellectual property. How do I think about, this is the way we're doing it, but I see a competitor could also do it this way. What about filing a patent? What about ways we can protect our IP, our intellectual property? I think the organization piece is huge. Do good code, but also be really, really really thoughtful around how you're coding and how you're optimizing. How can you get more people to, a lot of it's being inventive and creative. How do I get people to do some validation checks? How do I get people to do software quality assurance? How can I help drive that process and take on more responsibility? Oftentimes you have to take on more responsibility and then you get your promotion and then you get recognized for it. Rarely, unless someone is struggling, will they give you a new role and you haven't mastered and already expanded your current portfolio or your current profile of work. And so I just encourage you to think about, how can I be creative and add more to my role? Look at the job descriptions that are on your careers website. Product manager does X, Y, and Z. Ask your manager, can I take some time or can I do something else on the side to help me build up and grow my domain expertise so that I can be ready for my next step? Communicate where you want to go. And also really think about if you want to be a product manager. There are a lot of people that I feel like raise their hand and say, I want to be a product manager, but they do not like taking notes. They do not like chasing customer calls, and they do not like cat herding. That is what real product management is. Like, it's not some, come into a presentation and saying, I got this great product, shiny product. That happens like, I don't know, once 1 hour of every, like, I don't know, 100 hours, where I'm going to a customer and being like, hey, I got this great shiny product and come buy it from me. Most of the time I'm spending it grinding, trying to figure out how do I get what I need built with less than the resources that I desire. And I think, shadow product manager, figure out what they do, and be thoughtful around how you engage there, but take on some more additional responsibility if it's within your schedule and scope.
Awesome. I'm going to close out with one last question.
Yeah, sure.
One last one, promise. What inspired you to focus on trustworthy AI, and what has been the most rewarding part of your career in this space?
Yeah, focus. Okay, so yeah, focus and reward. Focus for me, when this opportunity was presented to me, I was doing some volunteer work, literally what I was talking about, and running, developing some model cards for NVIDIA. And my manager took notice that I was doing work to help her out. Like, this was not work that I was paid for. I was going under the fire to take work, to do some additional work, because I thought it was important and I thought we should have a resource to do it. And so that's, when the job opportunity was presented, I thought again about the skills. I thought about my relationship building skills. I thought about, what are the ways in which people react and relate to me, and how does that work? And so that was huge. And I think it was more of, wow, these are some skill sets that I think would be valuable to serve the company. I've got the right level of contact in terms of visibility with other folks. People know me, and there will be more likely to actually cooperate when I ask them to do more than what's required, than what they've been doing in the past. And so that's a big piece. In terms of reward, I think that's a good question. In terms of reward, I would say this, my greatest compliment that I've ever received, and I will tell you this is compliment had me in a hold probably 11 or 12 years ago when it was given to me. A woman that I was working with on a volunteer committee, told me, Michael, I don't have any kids, but if I did have kids, I'd trust them with you. That's the best compliment I've ever received. And I think that's emblematic of kind of the role that I'm in now, and why I think it matters to know who you are, and to figure out, okay, is this the right role for me? Is this the right spot? That's the greatest compliment I've ever received. And I think oftentimes when it comes to being able to, can somebody trust you to do what you say you're going to do and to deliver, and to do it the right way, and to do it in a way that's humble and graceful, but also sometimes holding kind of a firm stick of like, you will do this because this is what we agreed to do, I think is a hard place to be at. And so when we release things at NVIDIA, a lot of people jokingly call me model card man, because they know that I care about how we explain what we're doing. And we've made commitments to do this to the White House, to European stakeholders, and a number of folks as well, and being able to present that this is what we're doing. And we went from 0 model card pluses 2 years ago to over 415, I think is my last count, has been huge. And to be able to say that I helped drive that and help convince not just engineers to do this, but to convince leadership that this is something that we need to be doing to differentiate ourselves, has been a huge honor. So for that, I'm grateful for the opportunity, and thankful that God placed me and put me at this place for this time. So thank you.
And you know what I'm thankful for? You. I am thankful. Thank you so much for sharing with us and answering questions, hanging out with us today. And a huge thank you to everyone who came by and asked questions and tuned in with us. I really appreciate it. So everyone, if you found this session helpful, I would advise you to follow us on LinkedIn and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more events like this. Don't forget to join our Slack channel to continue the discussion and connect with other tech enthusiasts. We hope to see you at our next session. Until then, stay curious, stay learning, and continue pursuing your journey. Please continue asking questions. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank y'all. Bye.
Bye.